Hey YouTube, this is Tom at TM Aquatics, and I hope you're all doing great. I want to start out by saying thank you to each one of my subscribers, new and old, because with your support, our channel here at TM Aquatics reached 10,000 subscribers, a big milestone, and we did it a lot sooner than anticipated, picking up nearly 700 subscribers in just the past 30 days alone. Now I did talk about a 10K giveaway, and we will be doing that. However, I do ask that you have a little bit of patience because I'm not shipping any fish during the winter months. But I assure you, we're going to make it worth your time, and we'll have that 10K giveaway when things warm up just a little bit here in Minnesota. Now, this past week has been terribly busy here at the fish room. We have a lot of things going on. I'm going to take you around, show you everything that's happening, so I ask that you stick around and check this one out. Alright YouTube, as I mentioned, it has been another busy week back here in the fish room. Been spending quite a bit of time with this top 75 gallon tank back here, and this is where I keep my group of L264 Sultan Plecos. I spoke about this in my previous video, and if you haven't seen that, I'll go ahead and drop a link up above. Be sure to check it out at the conclusion of this video. But I'm resetting this tank, and I just had too many plants in the tank, too much wood, things like that. It was really hard for me to keep clean, so I removed everything, and oh my goodness, the amount of waste that was in this tank was just off the charts. Now the tank is on an automatic water change system, so the water parameters were fine, but there was so much waste in this tank. Not only that, but there was a ton of planaria, which tells me a lot of the food was uneaten. It was falling into the plants. And there was just, like I said, just a ton of planaria. So I am treating the tank with no planaria. That's why the water's just slightly off and slightly colored right now, or cloudy. I did add back in a couple pieces of anubias, a couple pieces of driftwood, and a couple of caves for the Sultan Plecos to hide out in. Now this is not the final product, not even close. I'm just going to let things settle down for a couple of days, and then I'll probably start working on it again later this weekend or early next week. Now I do have some more caves over here. I have some square caves I'm not using. I picked up some more watering spikes. I have a few more pieces of slate, and I picked this up from Home Depot. They cost about $1.50 a piece. And those pieces of slate just make a real inexpensive foundation for stacking pleco caves and wood in these tanks. But anyways, we'll probably have this tank completed by the next video, so stay tuned, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so turning around and looking back over here on the floor is the big piece of driftwood that I had in that tank. And that piece was just covered with narrowleaf java fern, anubias, bulbitis, and just a ton of plants. And I'm real glad to have that out of the tank, and I'll tell you why in just a second. And then I have a couple of 5-gallon buckets. I filled these up with tank water, dropped a couple of heaters in there, because I suspected we'd end up seeing a bunch of rainbow fish fry hatching. Now in that 75-gallon tank, my dither fish are the Praecox rainbows. I have Praecox rainbows in a few of my pleco tanks. And anybody that keeps rainbows know that they spawn just about every morning. So I suspected there was going to be a whole bunch of eggs in all of those plants that were attached to this piece of driftwood. My suspicions were correct. If you look down in here, you can see a bunch of fry swimming around. Now I don't know what I'm going to do with those fry. I do have some open tanks right now, but I'm not sure if I'm up to raising out a bunch of rainbow fish fry. They take an awful lot of time, a lot of work. They really don't sell for much, but I don't know, we'll have to see. There's probably 50, maybe 40 to 50 fry in there, and that's just overnight, so I'm sure there's going to be a few more hatching out. I guess stay tuned to see whether or not we hold on to a bunch of those or not. Now I'm real glad to have this piece of driftwood out. It's a real unique piece of driftwood. It's got a ton of character. It's got a hollow core here that goes all the way through. And then if you flip it over, that has this big cavity, and the plecos just love hanging out around and inside this piece of driftwood. The problem with it though is it's a real soft piece of wood, and it was just literally falling apart and disintegrating in the tank, just adding to the mess, making it harder to keep that tank clean. So glad to have that out. Not sure what I'm going to do with it. I'll probably hold on to it for now. Maybe I'll toss it in the flower gardens outside, who knows. But anyways, glad to have it out. The plants, I'm not going to be shipping any of these plants. I'll probably be selling them at a club auction coming up here in a couple of weeks. And again, not sure what I'm going to do with those rainbow fish fry, so stay tuned. So over here on the green laser Corydoras tank, they spawned again. I had about 75 to 80 fry in this fry box. I had to move them into one of the new 10-gallon tanks that we just set up. This recent spawn was pretty small, only about 50 or 60 eggs. And out of that, I expect maybe 25 to 30 fry. Now what I like to do, I've talked about this in the past, I like to space out the eggs. I pick them off the leaves or the glass, stick them to the side of the fry box. That way, if there's any infertile eggs that succumb to fungus, or if any of the eggs succumb to bacteria and then start to fungus, it's not going to transfer immediately to the next egg. Seems to work out rather well. Now I have had a lot of people ask if they can pay me now for some green lasers for when I start shipping. The answer to that is no. I'm not going to start shipping until things warm up, and here in Minnesota that could be as late as May. I don't want to hang on to anybody's money or worry about keeping a list or anything like that. It just creates too much work for me. At the end of the day, we've got over 200 green laser fry total in this fish room right now, and we're going to have plenty of green lasers for those that are interested in some when things warm up here in Minnesota. So no need to worry, and everybody that wants some will have an opportunity to buy some. They'll be listed on the Get Gills website when they're available. So on this end 10-gallon tank here, this new row of 10-gallon tanks, this tank right here, in the previous video, I had an egg tumbler in there, and I had a couple of L264 leopard frog plecos. It was time for them to come out and go into a fry box, and I like to keep them in the egg tumbler until the egg sac or the yolk sac is almost completely absorbed. I still want there to be a little bit of a yolk sac, but not much. And here's why. There's no reason to remove them early if you don't need to. The less you're moving these young fry around, the better off they're going to be. And the less you need to use that egg tumbler, why fix it if it ain't broke? Just let them stay in there. Let them grow out until they're ready for a fry box. So with that said, again, I do like there to be just a little bit of a yolk sac still. These guys were moved into this fry box 2 days ago. So they've been in this fry box a couple of days. Maybe it's 3 days. And I like to put them in a fry box with some type of leaf, usually Indian almond leaf or catappa leaf. There's a little bit of driftwood over here, a little piece of driftwood that I pulled out of the L397 tank. And I like to put this in a fry box for them because their first food almost always is going to be biofilm. And it's believed that the biofilm helps kind of kickstart or jumpstart their digestive system. But it's real easy on their digestive system. They're not passing big, hard pieces or solids, just biofilm. And that's why these foods do work so well with pleco fry. I've talked about these foods many times, but this Ebo Aquaristic spirulina paste and this Ebo Aquaristic, it's really just a grow paste. These work so well for these pleco fry because what they really do is when you take it out and you put a piece in the fry box, it really just creates a biofilm. And there's no hard solids or anything like that, so it's real easy for these little plecos to pass this through their digestive system. And these foods here are just packed with nutrition to really help them start growing quick. But same principle, when I put them in a fry box, same principle, I always put in You know, some type of leaf, a little piece of driftwood, something that's been aged a little bit, so it's got a little bit, little biofilm growing on it. You can see a bunch of little poo over here, so they're definitely rasping on this stuff, getting everything they need to start life out right. Now down here on this 40 breeder, this is where I keep my L260 Queen Arabesque breeding colony. I have 2 breeder boxes. The one on the left, I have 9 L260 fry in there. Over here in this breeder box, I have probably 49 or 50 is my estimate, is what I believe I have in there, of L134 leopard frog plecos and 15 to 17 L260 plecos. Now I don't know the counts for sure, but those 2 groups are sharing this one breeder box, so needless to say, I want to get them out, I want to remove them, I want to do a count. They're going to need a little more elbow room. Most of them are just crammed and packed up inside that watering spike cave, but we're going to pull those fry out of the breeder box, we're going to count them up, and then I think we're going to place them up here in this 10-gallon tank. Not in the breeder box with those other L134s, but just in the tank themselves. So let's go ahead, let's get a container out, let's pull these fry out of there and see what we have. Alright, well that did not go as planned. No matter how hard I tried, I just could not get all of those pleco fry out of that cave. All but one of the L260 and a bunch of the L134s were wedged so tightly in the end of that cave, they had decided they were not coming out no matter what, and I just didn't want to stress them anymore, so I let it go. So a final tally is going to have to wait for another day. Now with that said, I did put them all back in their fry box. I have the fry box hanging on this 10-gallon tank now. I have it hooked back up to air. You can see a slow drip coming in, and I'll just let them sit and acclimate this way to the new water conditions for about an hour. Then I'll come back, we'll take that cave out, and I'll just slowly lower that into the new tank, and then I'll put the fry box in the tank, tip it over or upside down, and hopefully they all come swimming out without too much coaching. Now I did put their catappa leaf in the tank, a piece of driftwood that was in their fry box is in there as well. But yeah, we'll let it go for about an hour, we'll come back, and then we'll get them in this new tank. And finally, over here on the L260 tank, I did move the L260 Queen Arabesque fry into a larger fry box. And they're doing just fantastic. Not only that, they're just absolutely stunning little fish. There's 9 in here, and then 1 did escape, and it was down here in this driftwood somewhere. But they'll probably be moved into a 10-gallon grow-out tank here pretty soon, or maybe the 5-gallon grow-out tank, but they're doing really good, and again, just beautiful little fish. All right, YouTube, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you taking time out of your day to watch one of my videos. Now, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to post them down below. Hit the like button on your way out. And if you enjoyed your time here, I hope you consider hitting that subscribe button. Anyways, thanks again, and until the next one, we'll catch you all later.